Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. It feels fantastic to say that again. It really feels fantastic to say that again. You know what? We're going to say it again, damn it. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. What the heck is up, man? Often imitated, never duplicated. Your boy BT is here. We're going to talk boxing. It's been a long road to get to this damn video. I'm talking about from my life, from my last video to now. It's been a long destination to get to this video, but I'm happy to be making this video. So it's good to be in front of the camera talking boxing. But enough of me. Last but not least, shout out to Everton on the win today. Sigurdsson scored 2 goals. Shout out to Sigurdsson. Let's get into the news. HBO Boxing is waving the white flag. They are throwing in the proverbial towel, and they are leaving the sport of boxing. Yes, they are leaving HBO, which has long been a staple. When we talk boxing, we talk HBO. Okay. So we'll get into that, and there'll be other videos following HBO's departure from boxing that I want to get into as well. With that being said, let's go to this boxing article that I have in front of me. It says the following. It's titled HBO Sports. No, it says HBO is leaving boxing after 45 years. Network announces. So, this is what Peter Nelson said. I want to get into Peter Nelson as well. Peter Nelson, and if you guys don't know who Peter Nelson is, because it's crazy. What I've come to learn is a lot of boxing fans don't even know who Peter Nelson is, which is, for me, that's crazy to me. But what it is what it is. Peter Nelson, for those of you who don't know, he is the executive. His formal title is HBO Sports Executive Vice President. So that's basically he's the guy who oversees the sports division of HBO for their programming, what they're putting on, things like that. He had a statement based on them getting out of the boxing business, and here's what he said. He said the following, I quote, "This is not a subjective decision. Our audience research informs us that boxing is no longer a determinant factor for subscribing to HBO." He then goes on by saying, "There's plenty of boxing out there, but we have not seen a lot of signature fights. Because of our association with boxing, people forget that we are not a sports network. We're a storytelling platform. I am still a fan of boxing. If there is a destination event, absolutely we're going to be in that conversation." But there you have it. Peter Nelson pretty much saying, look, we ain't got a damn thing to do with boxing no more. So with that being said, and with that being taken into account from Peter Nelson, let's just call a spade a spade. Peter Nelson has, if you guys have been paying really close attention to when I talk about HBO, and I've been talking about the programming here and there over the last couple of years, you guys may have heard me say things like Peter Nelson is running HBO into the ground. I've been saying things like this here and there when I'm talking about HBO and their lack of big fights in comparison to that of Showtime and other Top Rank, at Matchroom Boxing, DAZN, things like that. Al Heyman, PPC, things like that. They have ever since Peter Nelson took, because Peter Nelson, you got to look at the timeline here. Peter Nelson took over as the HBO Executive Vice President in December of 2015. So from December of 2015 all the way up to right now, they've been really swinging and missing a lot. From just decisions to things like fights that are not pay-per-view worthy have been made pay-per-view worthy. So Postal Crawford was pay-per-view, Lemieux Golovkin pay-per-view, Kovalev Ward 1 and 2 both pay-per-view. None of those fights were of pay-per-view caliber in terms of the fan interest and the buys it would generate, and that was reflected in the numbers for all those fights. You had Kovalev Ward turn in sub 200,000. You had Terrence Crawford do barely over 50,000 or just under 50,000. Yeah, but Golovkin do under 100,000. There were really no significant. There were very few significant pay-per-view draws and pay-per-view returns under Peter Nelson's term as the vice president of HBO Sports. So that was his inability to understand, because a lot of times, and this is not even about boxing, but in general in life, a lot of times you have to know your audience, you have to know the consumer. So I think where he failed is that he didn't know the consumer. And when I say that, I mean he didn't know that he didn't quite understand that, hey, Golovkin Lemieux was not a pay-per-view fight. Golovkin Lemieux is a fight that you use to build Golovkin into a pay-per-view star, but you don't use that fight to make him to put on pay-per-view, because it's going to tank and it's going to look bad on him and it's going to look bad on the network. So he didn't understand that. Same thing with Crawford Postal. Same thing with War Kovalev. Those are fights that would have done a lot more good than bad if they were just on regular HBO. But he failed to do that, and he failed to understand that, and because of that, HBO constantly, almost every fight they had, all the fights I named you, they lost money and lost money and lost money until they couldn't lose no more money, and then Bob Arum took his top ranked fighters to ESPN Plus, which is also a detrimental blow to HBO boxing. So Peter Nelson is to be held highly responsible for this. And if you go look at like Peter Nelson's background, because I did my own little research, he's done stuff in ballet and ballroom and things like that. He's got a degree in Greek philosophy or silent science or some crap like that. He doesn't strike you as someone that would be fit to run, or know what kind of programming the boxing fan would want. And I think they failed at that. I think they failed at that. I think he failed at it majorly. And I think it's bad for boxing. I'll be honest with you. I think it's bad for boxing. Well, I don't know. Actually, no, I take it back. I don't want to say it's bad for boxing because it actually could be good for boxing. That's the one possibility I don't think fans are considering. That they're looking at this from a sentimental perspective, like, oh, HBO's been around for 45 years. They've been the leader in boxing for this many years, and that's been true because you're preaching to the choir. I loved as a kid. My first fights watching as a kid, seemingly all the fights I watched as a kid were HBO fights. Fights that captivated my imagination when I was younger. Hopkins Trinidad, first fight I ever watched. Pacquiao Cotto. That fight was like the world to me when I was back then. I had to have been about 14 years old. So that fight to me was like the world, and it was on HBO. A lot of the big fights that I watched just happened to be on HBO. I loved Emmanuel Stewart's commentary on HBO. So HBO also is the reason that Romo Gonzalez was able to have a successful career here in the States because they were the ones that brought him here. And y'all, it's no secret for those of you who follow me how much I love Romo Gonzalez. So I do love HBO. Have as a kid. That doesn't say that's not to say that they don't have their faults, that they're not biased. I mean, if you don't think they're biased, then you're not paying attention. You haven't watched an episode of The Fight Game with Jim Lampley, which I love. Jim met him last year, but I can't watch that show regularly because it's just so bad. It was so bad. So I think where HBO got this wrong was on multiple fronts. It was for one, it was Peter Nelson not knowing what the hell he was doing and not knowing the boxing consumer. That was one. Two, it was also the fact that HBO never seemed to develop the presentation. Like, and when I say develop the presentation, like, I mean that in the sense of like, we're in the social media era, but HBO and the way it's broadcasted and the way fights are still brought to us in the form of when things were in the form of the way things were back in the 90s. Like, where you have Curb Your Enthusiasm on at 10:45 and it leads into some fight that's on 11:15. Like, in this day and age where people's attention spans are so low, like, you got to build up to the fight. You have to. I know everybody's different, but you have to build up. You have to create buzz. And the way you create buzz, one of the ways you create buzz, and you create a presentation, a better presentation, rather than just leading in after a show, talking for 5 minutes and leading into the fight, is like, do what Eddie Hearn is trying to do at the Zone, which is why I like the Zone, because I like what he's trying to do. He's trying to make boxing overall, when you watch a fight, he's trying to improve the presentation of it. Presentation meaning that, like, okay, there's going to be a show before, like a pre-show, like for any other sport. Like if you watch soccer, you watch basketball, baseball, any other sport, there's pre-shows, there's post-game shows, there's all that stuff. You get the before, you get the during, and you get the after. And in boxing, I think that's where boxing is getting it wrong. And that's not even an HBO thing. That's a Showtime thing as well. It's been a boxing thing in general, where they're only showing you some of the card. And that's why I think Eddie Hearn is going to get it right, is that he's going to show the overall whole card, and fans can enjoy the whole card, not just 2 or 3 fights or 1 or 2 fights late at night. So the fans are going to be a lot happier with that, or they'll get a more of a complete product. And I think with HBO, probably more than any of the networks, HBO failed more than any of the networks in the last 2 or 3 years, is to deliver boxing fans a complete product. As much as I've criticized Al Heyman on this channel, let's give credit where credit is due. Al Heyman, and when Al Heyman blew through most of that money with PBC, the initial money, he made the adjustment of, okay, well, I blew through most of this money, it didn't work out. He started putting all the fights on Showtime, but he made sure when he put them on Showtime that he was putting quality fight after quality fight after quality fight after quality fight on Showtime, and it's been for the most part good. Sometimes the fights end in controversy. He can't control that. Well, no, I don't want to say that. he's been putting on quality fights. Let's say he's been putting on quality fights. Um, and that's what HBO has been doing. He's been putting on quality fights. Aaron's had his not as many at the high volume, but he's had his fair share of quality fights, and he's been doing it on the ESPN platform, which is a lot bigger than the closed circuit HBO platform. And then you have Eddie Hearn, who's been killing it over the UK, took the shit over there in the UK. Now he's coming to America to venture out Matchroom Boxing USA in association with the Zone, and I think he's going to succeed as well. So along with them not giving the boxing consumer a more complete product, you have more boxing available than ever. You have ESPN Plus, you have the Zone, you have Golden Boy on ESPN when they have their fights. There's just so much boxing available, and I think what HBO failed to do is give the boxing consumer a complete product, a competitive product with the people they had around them, the competitors in the marketplace, and overall, it was like it was like someone who just fell from glory. You know, HBO was the staple in boxing for year after year after year, and the fact that they're not going to be in boxing is it's sad. It's definitely sad for I mean, the older you are, I feel a little more sad you'll feel because you know HBO has been great, but I don't look at it as a bad thing. I look at it as a sad thing, but I don't look at it as a negative thing because this is just a byproduct of you not giving the fans and your people the worst because the people that were paying money to HBO to subscribe were not getting quality product. I mean, there were barely any. There's been very little fights this year on HBO. You had Canelo Triple G, which was pay per view. You had the Superfly card recently with Juan Francisco Estrada. That was there. Jaime Munguia's fights, but aside from that, you know, there really hasn't been a lot of options on HBO. And you know, if it's the end, which I think it's safe to say it is, you know, let me speak as a fan for a second. You know, I loved HBO. You know, first of all, I want to thank all the great HBO commentators over the years, from George Foreman to Jim Lampley, Larry Merchant to Emmanuel Stewart. Definitely Emmanuel Stewart. Rest in peace. I love Emmanuel Stewart and his just analysis on boxing and the way he would put things. But HBO boxing, man. When we look back on HBO boxing, I think we'll be able to say like, okay, you know, they were biased, they had their faults, but you know, there were so many classic moments on HBO. You know, I remember when Floyd was like, Floyd Mayweather was like, you know, HBO needs to fire you. You don't know nothing about boxing. And then Larry Merchant's like, yeah, if I was 50 years younger, I would kick your behind, I would kick your ass. You know, there are classic moments, so many of them on HBO, and I think, you know, from the Gotti Ward fights to, you know, the more recent classics like Kovalev Ward 1 or Chocolatito Cuadras or you know, the Pacquiao Cotto, Mayweather's great performances on HBO, particularly when he was Pretty Boy Floyd. Like when he fought Gotti, that was a fantastic performance. You know, there's just so many performances we saw on HBO, and I think we should give thanks to the great commentators on HBO, the guys that put the work in to present us boxing fans with high quality content for so many years, and I don't think them folding is a reflection of the commentators as much as it is the people behind the commentators and the people that pull the strings behind the scenes. So it is what it is. I'll have more thoughts on HBO and just give my thoughts on just their departure from boxing as the days go on. I've been out the loop for a while because I've been taking some care of some things in my life. But for those of you out there who want to see me talk on something, speak on some boxing topics because I haven't even went to the news like that. Drop them in the comments down below, please. And I'll get to do a video on them as soon as possible, as soon as I can. And I'll be catching up on. I'll be making videos, giving my thoughts on fights that I missed as well. So stay tuned for those. We're talking Porter Garcia, Golovkin, Canelo, all that stuff. So I'll be on the lookout for that. And yeah. So yeah, take care, guys. And like I always say in every single video, we're gonna say this twice because it's just been so long. We gotta say it again. All right. So subscribe, do all that good stuff, and you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. Let's rewind it back, okay? You can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take care, guys.